Our group continued to head toward a garage we knew of near some old mining desert lands a little ways away known as the Black Goldville. We've had to get used to the new territory and track where some of the garages were in the southern lands, as it was the only place for all tanks to get repairs and receive resources for their survival. After our rescue battle of trying to save a clan in the Oasis Palm Desert, some of our tanks needed holes repaired in our armor and needed to replenish some of our ammo. The temperature seemed to burn and twist against the armor of our tanks as you could hear the metal crack under the hot sun. Our tank's engine began to struggle as it continued to try and push through the sand, but came to a halt soon after our clan started to hear the sound of an engine beginning to break down under the heat. This was no place for our tank to lose its power now, not when we're so close to a garage. We all stopped our tanks and hopped out to see if we could get the struggling tank to go the extra mile to just get it to the garage. The sight of the other abandoned, stripped, or destroyed tanks in the distance gave us less hope as we opened the hatch to look at the overheated engine. A tanker grabbed an extra repair kit from its supplies and brought it over to try and hopefully get our tank back up and running. Sweat dripped down our heads and necks as we continued to work. It wasn't long before we began to feel a slight vibration under our feet. We stood up and began to look around. The sound of a group's screeching tank tracks began to be heard coming closer in the distance. We began to panic as we soon realized the sound was coming our way and didn't have a way to move our broken tank or have time to hide it. "We need to get out of here," the Americans yell as they throw some of the tools into their tank, and some of us run back to get into the other tanks. Some decide to stay with ours and try to get it up and running before the unknown group approaches. The group starts their engines and retreat as the Americans yell once more for us to get out. We try to turn the engine once more as the sound of another group, coming from the opposite side, begins to be heard. "This isn't going to work," the crew of the French tank says as they try to hide behind some of the local boulders. We strive to hurry and get out of the tank, but it's too late. The view of a strange-looking KV we've never seen before begins to crawl out of the nearby caves and comes around the corner. We climb back in our tank to hide and hope the tank doesn't see us as we continue to hear it crawl and screech on by. We look at each other across the dark, hollow hall in silence as more tanks are seen and heard coming out from the caves behind the KV. Our clan continues to hide in silence as well, hoping the group would pass by, as suddenly the sound and sight of the second group starts to come into view. The feeling of panic begins to slowly absorb the surrounding air away from us as we question how we're going to make it out of this. The larger KV comes to a screeching halt, along with its other fellow tankers following close behind. We hear a voice from the clan calling out while spotting our tank, just as the second clan we started to see comes to a halt to spot us as well. Our clan radios in to stay still, and if anything happens, they'll try to do what they can. The rusted, old, oversized turret of the strange-looking enemy's KV slowly turns our way as we begin to look down one of the largest gaping holes of a cannon we've ever seen before start to face our direction. "What in the world is that?" we radio to our friendly KV. "A KV-2, something I was hoping we'd never have to come across," the KV responds through the radio as we begin to watch the two sides of the clans climb onto the open land to come together to meet in between of our broken down Hetzer. Both sides come to a stop as the hatch from one side pops open and calls out, "We found this tank first, and we'll be taking it from here. If you depart in peace, now we'll let you live." "I don't think they know you're in here," a clanmate responds over the radio as we begin to realize both clans are hoping to take this find for their own. A death-like silence comes between the clans as the KV-2 begins to respond through the echoing sound of a large shell being loaded into its large cannon. We duck inside our tank to prepare for the battle that's about to happen as the leader from the group yells for his clan to aim and fire as cannon blasts begin to shower across the field to hit each opposing side. The sound of shells whiz past our vulnerable tank as we try to do what we can to protect ourselves inside. A blast from the KV-2's cannon lets out a loud roar that shakes and completely overtakes the land, causing the canyon walls to vibrate while completely taking out a tank in a single shot. "Oh wow, I've got to get myself one of those," the commander of the KV has heard over the radio. The enemy side looks in shock as they begin to brace themselves for more and continue to attack. Both sides begin to move against each other as others look for more cover, and some advance as shells continue to be fired from each side. Tanks begin to explode from the enemy fire and shells fly right past our tank as all we can do is pray we don't get hit in the crossfire. The KV-2 moves behind a boulder for cover as shells bounce from the focus fire among it. The sound of another shell is heard loading as more tanks around the battlefield are taken out and shells continue to ricochet and penetrate each other from the conflicting sides. We cover our ears once more as a second blast of fire from the jaws of the KV-2 releases to quickly knock out another tank. The KV-2 begins to advance as others are seen continuing to fire against each other. A shell bounces against our side as more destruction takes place around us. The only two tanks left are the KV-2 and the leader of the other clan. They fire in a state of panic to try and hit the KV-2 without aiming, but only hit to knock out its track, bringing it to a halt right in front of us. The sound of another shell loads into the KV-2 while the clan leader yells for them to retreat. But before they can get far, another large, loud blast from the KV-2 rips through the air, causes the last of the opposing clan tanks to become engulfed in flames, bringing the battle to an end. Another shell is heard slowly being reloaded into the mouth of the beast as a member of our crew tries to look out the viewport to see the monster resting in front of us. A toolkit resting on top of our roof slips off and crashes down upon a crew member, causing a loud shriek of pain to be voiced and echo throughout our hollow metal walls. I quickly cover my crew member's mouth mid-shriek to hopefully hide the noise from the resting beast in front of us, but then start to hear the sound of its turret starting to turn toward us. In a race of panic, we try grabbing a shell and loading it into our cannon, hopefully in time before the KV-2 has time to release its breath of fire upon us. Our clan comes out from behind the rocks to try to stop the KV-2 in time, but the side of the KV-2 begins to finish its aim upon us as we finish loading our shell. A scream to fire the cannon is only halfway heard as a loud blast is heard, causing a large explosion of fire to be released. We opened our eyes in fear it might have been us to take the hit, but we were luckily able to take out the KV-2 just in time before its cannon was able to consume us. We couldn't believe what had just happened, and that we were just in the middle of two clans who had fought and thinking our tank was abandoned for the taking. We climbed out of our tank while coughing from the smoke-covered battle scene around us. Our clan raced over to help us and cheered with relief in knowing that we were now hopefully safe. We looked around the blazing ruins around us and began to realize, with the garage almost in sight, that we had just acquired everything in sight. Might this just be what we needed to take on the plague? We press forward onto the garage, not knowing where our journey will take us next.